and today I'm going to go surfing. So I want to talk about the history of Hawaii. First of all, many of us on the mainland pronounce it Hawaii. That's my Midwestern accent going Hawaii, but there's two I's, so it's Hawaii. If you want to get real technical, the W is Hawaii. It's pronounced with a V. So I've learned this by coming to these islands for the last like 8-9 years doing shows, and it's pretty fascinating. So I want to talk about the history of Hawaii and why it relates to the political vigilante is how the islands of Hawaii were taken, basically stolen in 1893. You're going to hear some familiar tactics that America keeps doing and has been doing. And it's important to know. And it's important to know where the issue is at today and kind of how it relates to a lot of stuff going on. We've talked about California maybe seceding from the Union and would that work? And there's a lot of stuff here. So sovereignty is a pretty big issue here in Hawaii. There's a group of Hawaiians that really want Hawaii to get sovereignty. And I'm going to go into this article that is on the Learning Network. So basically it's their blog, and it was in the New York Times originally. It's part of the New York Times Learning Network. It's part of their blog. It came out in January of 2012. I'll put the link below. So January 17th, 1893, Hawaii's monarchy was overthrown when a group of businessmen and sugar planters forced Queen, forgive me for mispronouncing this, Liliuokalani to abdicate. So the Hawaiian was a monarchy. It was a royal family. And you maybe have heard the name King Kamehameha. He unified the islands long, long time ago. And so this was the royal family. The first European contact to Hawaii was when Captain Cook came in 1778. That's a whole nother history lesson. But this is how the U.S. Basically stole this land. And today it's called the 50th state, but really it's in a military occupation. If you wanted to technically, they just stole it from the royal family. So what happened was there was, in 1874, David Kalakaua became king and sought to reduce the power of the white missionary party. So the white missionaries came here and tried to get control of the islands. And in 1887, angered by the King Kalakaua's attempts to dilute their power, a small group of missionary party members known as the Hawaiian League struck back against the king, led by Lauren A. Thurston and Sanford B. Dole. Yes, the Dole plantation, the Dole pineapple. The Hawaiian League drafted a new constitution that reduced the power of the king and increased the power of the cabinet and legislature. It also extended voting rights to wealthy non-citizens. Wait a minute, this sounds familiar. Letting rich people vote and finding ways to let the poor and disenfranchised just legislate, write laws that don't let them. It sounds like gerrymandering and voter suppression and the last video I did about how poor people, poor blacks and Latinos are 3 times more likely to go to prison than a white kid if they get busted with weed. So I guess they've been doing this for a while. It extended voting rights for wealthy non-citizens while excluding Asians and restricting access for Native Hawaiians through landowning and literacy provisions. Wow, that old tactic. You guys don't speak English. Yeah, why would we? That's not our language. Yeah, you're not smart enough. You're not educated. So, God. Backed by militia, the group used the threat of violence to force King Kalakaua to sign the Constitution, which became known as the Bayonet Constitution. So then he died in 1891 and was succeeded by his sister, Liliuokalani, who proposed a new constitution that would restore powers of the monarchy and extend voting rights for Native Hawaiians. Oh, I'm sure these white business dudes were cool with that. I'm sure they were fine with that. No, They angered Hawaii's white businessmen who formed a 13-member committee of safety with the goal of overthrowing the monarchy and seeking annexation by the United States. Because if they don't control everything, then they don't control the money. It's the history of America, is not only just the racism, obviously the slavery, but it's all about land ownership. That's one of the reasons why the founding fathers were like, we want freedom. It wasn't just about we want religious freedom from England. It was like, nah, we don't want to pay taxes and we want to own all this new land. So the January 29th, 1893 edition of the New York Times recounted the events of the coup. On January 16th, Hawaiian Marshal Charles B. Wilson attempted to arrest the committee members and declare martial law, but his attempts were turned down by other government officials who feared violence. The next day, after a police officer was shot and wounded trying to halt the distribution of weapons to the committee's safety militia. Oh, we're keeping you safe. That's why we have guns. I need to come into your home and take your property. I'm keeping you safe. Wow. Like we've given so much safety to so many people in the Middle East currently. It's great how much safety we've given out. The drones just shoot down safety onto people. So the Iolani Palace, which is still in Honolulu, if you ever watch the old Hawaii Five-0, that's where the Hawaii Five-0 headquarters were, which is in the palace. It's the only palace, royal palace on American soil. But maybe it's not American soil. Maybe it's we've stolen it. The committee, the 13-member committee, was joined by 162 Marines and Navy sailors who were ordered by John L. Stevens, U.S. Minister to Hawaii, to protect the committee. The Queen surrendered peacefully to avoid violence. There was a movie made about her that came out several years ago. The committee established a provisional government that was headed by Mr. Dole. U.S. President Grover Cleveland opposed the provisional government and called for the Queen to be restored to power, but the committee established a Republic of Hawaii and refused to cede power. So, and in 1898, Hawaii just annexed. That's a nice way of saying we just took it. And it became a territory in 1859. In 1993, Congress issued an apology, and since 2000, Senator Daniel K. Akaka of Hawaii, who's getting ready to retire, well, this is as of 2012, he might already be retired, has repeatedly proposed to Congress the Native Hawaiian Government Recognition Act, also known as the ACA Bill, which would extend sovereignty to 400,000 Native Hawaiians. Basically, in 2005, and the Times described, what he's trying to do is get Hawaiian sovereignty the way America has done with Native Americans in the reservation. So basically, like the Navajo reservation or whatever, any of the tribes in America, they have sovereignty over that land. It's their laws, and they can govern it how they want. And so that's what this is trying. This bill that is still, I don't know where this bill stands today, but I'd love to know your guys' thought on this. Supporters say the bill is necessary to protect Native culture and redress Hawaiians for past injustices, and of course, opponents say it would divide the state. It's a lot of issues here because now there's military. It is the number one business in Hawaii is tourism. The number two business is military. 3 is agriculture. So. It's interesting, and as I look out here on all these high-rise buildings, and this is downtown Honolulu, we're by the beach in Waikiki and everything, it'd be interesting to see, and I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on this. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and in the Patreon, you can go to the Patreon link, and if you start donating at certain levels, you can send me an article once a month to talk about, and for even more, we can do a Skype interview and stuff like that. So I appreciate your guys' support. Thanks you. I get so excited. I talk really fast, then I start fumbling over my words. So I'll try to slow down so that I enunciate and you hear all of my words. Aloha.